Alright everyone, welcome back. In this week's video I briefly commented that 2022 is going to be a busy year for The Division, and I only really thought about this following a tweet from fellow content creator Rogue Gold on Twitter, so major props to them for inspiring the topic for this video. If you were ever in doubt The Division was being put on the back burner, or even worse, abandoned by Ubisoft, and I wouldn't blame you for feeling that way based on what happened only over a year ago, I do think at this point in time all the evidence actually points to the opposite. Let's take a look, drop a like and subscribe to stay up to date with all my videos. Let's begin. I think it's fair to assume that with the delay to the new content being announced towards the end of last year, everyone was just a bit frustrated, even those of us like myself who see delays as a good thing so long as those delays mean we get a good finished product at the end. Of course, if those delays happen and we still get a bad product, then yeah, that's really not good. 2021 was a pretty weird year for The Division 2, starting with complete silence that suggested it was the end of content, to an article early in 2021 confirming it wasn't the end and that they would be continuing with new content as soon as possible. And whilst that was great news, there's no doubt that a lot of people who play this game, a lot of you guys would have been excited by that news. It was still a pretty jarring experience. The article itself was pretty jarring as well, confirming The Division 2 was set to be on the back burner, but fans' enthusiasm and engagement had convinced the higher-ups to keep making content. Still to this day, I don't quite believe that statement, but I am glad they are making new content. Ultimately then, it was good news from this article in February, but the delivery of that article, in my opinion, was quite poor. So here we are in 2022, and the content set to be coming out in February has now been delayed to an unknown date. Now, you could look at the past year and the beginning of this year with a lot of pessimism, and I definitely wouldn't hold it against you if you did. It's absolutely warranted. In fact, it wasn't until recently that I kind of felt the same way when we had Christmas and New Year's. I know I didn't upload for maybe a couple of weeks. Part of that was because, you know, I wanted a break over the holidays, but also because I did have this kind of pessimistic outlook on the future of this game. There's no two ways about it. Now, we've had two Intelligence Annex articles which have unveiled the specialization revamp and the expertise system, both of which I am excited about and can't wait to try out. But aside from that, we still don't have any information on what content we can expect. Or well, at least we have no information that can be shared publicly. That's really all I can say at this point. With all of that said, Rogue Gold put out this tweet recently on the 2nd of January, and as you can see, he tweeted saying the following: "Welcome to the year of The Division. We're in for a wild ride. The Division 2 new content, The Division Heartland, The Division Mobile, The Division Recruited novel, and The Division Netflix film." I'll tell you what, I want to give a huge thanks to Rogue Gold for that tweet. This tweet was just the kind of optimism that I needed, and I think a lot of us do. I'm not saying we should set high expectations. In fact, I would set very low expectations. But just as Rogue Gold has said here, there's actually a lot in the works for this franchise. I mean, you wouldn't look at this list of upcoming Division content and say that Ubisoft were not invested in the franchise. And I'm not going to comment on how well they've done with this franchise, because I think we can all agree that they could have done more. But when it comes to actually whether they're looking at the future of this, then I think there's evidence here that they are invested. I mean, if you look at this when you compare it to this time kind of last year, then I would probably say at this point that they're doubling down rather than kind of putting it on the back burner. Now, the Division Netflix film won't be out this year. I believe it's only just started filming, so it's likely to be at least a couple of years out. But I am actually very excited for this film. I think there's a couple of actors in there that are really good actors. So yeah, and also Rawson, is it Thunberg or Rawson Thurber, who's making the film, is someone who recently made Red Notice, which is a pretty good film. So excited for that. The Division Heartland has been unofficially delayed. Does this in some way have anything to do with the Division 2 content delay? Yeah, possibly. I mean, I don't know. But I've always predicted Heartland would come out at around the same time as the new content for the Division 2. So we'll have to see about that. Heartland is a game that I'm excited for. Following the early alpha footage we saw, I'm just a little bit frustrated that we've not seen anything further at this stage, but all in good time, I guess. We do know some closed tests have been conducted internally for Heartland, as per leaks there have been on Twitter, and there were also leaks of the cover artwork as well, which actually got DMCA hit. So we definitely know that cover artwork is something that's likely to be coming out with the Heartland. It's likely to be the cover artwork for Heartland. So I don't think Heartland is that far off, to be honest. I'm giving it a maximum of 6 months before this comes out, but I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out maybe kind of April time. The Division Mobile is something we know nothing about at this stage, and I suspect this is quite far out. Unlike films and console and PC games, mobile games do take a lot less development time, so I still anticipate a release this year, but if it is, I don't think it'll be until towards kind of the latter half of the year. I have no idea what the mobile game will entail at all, and I don't even know who's developing it or which studio is developing it. I have no idea about this. And in all honesty, unless it's free, I won't even try it out. I'm not really going to seek out any kind of news on the mobile stuff. I mean, if something comes up, then of course I'll cover it for you guys, because I'm sure there are some of you guys that do like mobile games, but I'm not going to be seeking it out the same way I do with Heartland and maybe the Division 2. I'm not a mobile gamer. I haven't played a mobile game for it's got to be 10 years. But it's still good to see that Ubisoft has ambition with the franchise. They're trying to move it in different directions with different media. And again, that to me is evidence that they're not pulling it on the back burner. In fact, they're doubling down and trying to make the brand bigger and better. We then have the Recruited novel, which I believe takes place after the Division 2. Now, like mobile games, I haven't read a book since I was at university, and that was it's got to be 12, 14 years ago or something like that. It's not the way I like to consume media. I prefer television. I prefer other people to show me stuff rather than me have to use my mind, my imagination, which isn't very, very good. I do think it's interesting this novel takes place after the events of the Division 2. It could possibly be the first sign of Ubisoft's ambition to make a Division 3. I suspect this decision will be made off the back of how well the new content kind of does, how Division Heartland does, and how all the other media do. If they do really well, if Heartland really hits the ground running, if the Division 2 new content does really well and they're looking at developing more, then there's no reason why they wouldn't make a Division 3. And I suspect something like the new Recruited novel would be almost like a template for what the Division 3 could be. All in all, I look at what's coming in terms of the Division universe, and I do feel optimistic about the future. This is something I absolutely would not have felt in January of last year. So in many ways, I really couldn't ask for anything more at this stage. I mean, you go back to January last year, and I think we all just thought that was the end. And now, there's actually quite a lot in the works, as we've seen. Of course, the success of the Division will depend on the quality and success of the content we get. Whether that be the new content for the Division 2 or the Division Heartland, whatever it might be. I'm cautiously optimistic. That's the best way to describe how I feel right now. There's a lot coming, and it's good that there's a lot coming, and I'm semi-excited for all of that stuff, and I like to see news about all of that stuff, but I do have very low expectations, and I would recommend you guys do the same, and that's just based on experience with stuff we've received previously. Fingers crossed 2022 delivers. There is a lot on the table, and I think this year is going to be make or break for this franchise. That's it though, guys. Thanks very much for watching. If you're here at the end, I really do appreciate all of your support. This is by far the best way you can support me. Just watch the video all the way to the end. Drop a like if you haven't already. If you did enjoy this one, subscribe if you're new and haven't subscribed already, and make sure you turn your notifications on, and that way you won't miss a video. But until the next one, Epic out.